Welcome to the American Small Business League podcast. I am Bruce DeTorres. With me is Tori Branum, who is running for Congress as a Republican in Georgia's 12th district. And Tori's had 2 terms of enlistment in the Marines, has a bachelor's degree in psychology, is a mom, founded a small business, had some experience with the Veterans Administration that I can't wait to dig into and learn about. Tori, how are you this morning?
I'm good, thank you.
Would you like to swing into talking about why you have thrown your hat in the ring?
Absolutely. First of all, we have 2 VA hospitals in my district. We have the Charlie Norwood in Augusta. We have the Carl Vincent VA in Dublin. We have couple of Army bases in Augusta. And so we're a heavy veteran district. And I'm a patient at the VA. So I see the bureaucracy. I had a community care consult dropped twice because they're negligent, which could have led to me having full blown cancer. I not only am a patient there, but I talk to veterans that go there and veterans that work there that see the fraud, the waste, the bureaucracy, the laziness, the terrible attitudes of I can't get fired. And there was an ICU unit in our local hospital that was getting funding. It closed in 2014 and they got funding for 10 years. When they got an audit, they're like, well, where's all the money? Well, they made the current congressman aware of this, and he basically was going to do something about it and didn't. And the only time he's been over there, I'm sorry, I've got to unlock my door real quick. The only time that he has been over there is when he wanted to rub elbows with Doug Collins, the new director for the VA, when he wanted to be part of that. But he's done nothing to help veterans in our veteran heavy district. Everything is a photo op and a notoriety type thing. He doesn't hold his own town halls. He sends his subpar staff to do that. I can go up to anybody where I live. I've asked people everywhere, hey, how do you like your congressman? They're like, I don't know who it is. And, I feel like I'm already connecting politically on my Facebook page. I have 262,000 followers, and I'm already talking to the constituents and even everybody in America about political issues. And that's how we keep things going in the right direction is education. But he's not educating people. He's not showing up. He's asleep at the wheel. And
Mm-hmm.
I want everybody in all 22 counties to know that that's my congresswoman and
Mm-hmm.
constantly be in communication because you see it with Kat Kamak in Florida, see it with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace. Maybe they're controversial sometimes, but they communicate and they keep people up on the issues. And that's what people want. People don't go to the normal news anymore. They hardly turn their TV on. Everything is through streamers and social media. But I really want to be able to go out and work with people and know that they have a voice, that they're not just paying taxes, that I would represent them. And to carry on Trump's America First agenda, if we don't elect the right people, we have a lot of rhinos in Georgia that never backed him until he won. They are in bed with the Democrats. And if we don't elect people like me who truly believe in a constitutional republic, we're doomed. Everything he's doing right now, all the hard stuff, is going to be reversed because we're in a major time next year for voting. Like we have a chance of turning Georgia blue if we don't get the right people in. So we need people who are constitutionalists. I believe we've been in a nanny state since President Wilson. We've never lived in the country the way that it was created to be because there's so many laws and amendments and so much stepping on our Constitution that none of us have lived in our country the way it was created to be. And we have to get back to the America First agenda, which was actually started in the 1940s. I feel like if we don't, this next year is very pivotal. And if we don't get the right people in, we're going to be sitting down in 20 years, just like Reagan said, and we're going to be telling our grandkids what it was like when our country was free. And I have children, and I want to leave a legacy. And when I die one day, hopefully before them, I know that I'm not leaving them a mess.
One of the things I love about your website is you talk about your district, you talk about the constituents, you talk about the things you've been through and who you are that are very, very relatable.
Like I said, one is the veterans, two is the farmers. They don't feel like they're getting enough support. We have a heavy rural community here. People are fed up with the property tax. We don't have enough industry. The city where the current congressman lives has so much corruption. They've had to arrest the guy that was overseeing HUD for millions of dollars coming up missing. Several of their public officials have been arrested for money missing, for stealing money, for fraud. It's a transient place because there's a lot of military there. I just feel like people feel like things are a little out of control.
Hmm.
And when there's issues, they have nobody that they can reach out to. And I don't care if it's not a major issue, everybody deserves to be heard. So I hear
Hmm.
things from every aspect.
What we are trying to inform you about, Tori, it's exciting to imagine you bringing this into your campaign, road testing it, just seeing if it resonates, seeing if people get excited about it, seeing if it becomes one of the major, along with the veteran issues and the farmer issues and the corruption issues, is the fourth or fifth thing going to be exposing the scam that the contracts that are supposed to come to small businesses are not, and doing all that you can to make that so because of the vast economic benefits it would be for your district and for all of America for that flood of business to be made available. What
Absolutely. I'd be
what
happy to educate people, highlight the issue, but I want to know what could I do in Washington to help? Well, if I got to
right.
Washington, what could I do to help?
Having new investigations that prove these allegations, because what I'm saying is very, very controversial because it goes against what people will find on Google and at the official websites that, oh no, all small businesses are getting these contracts. You have to arm yourself with the documentation at ASBL.com to see, wow, for 30 years, we've been ripped off major proportions, and then propose new legislation that simply says big businesses shouldn't get small business contracts.
Oh,
And
I'm really ready to highlight. I'll keep digging.
wow, yeah, a couple other things is officially change the definition of a small business from not up to 500 employees, up to
Under
100
100.
employees. That's still 98% of all businesses in the United States. Now let's talk about our Don't Cheat Women project, which is the fact that women obviously are 50, they're half the population. They own 42% of all businesses. Okay. And they are supposed to get 5% of federal contracts. Can we make that more
How do
fair?
they decide the 5%? Where did they come up with that?
Yeah, that
It
would
should
be
be
for
even
you.
with men.
You would think it's 2025.
Yeah,
Um,
that
so
doesn't
if
make sense. It should be even.
no, right. So starting from, first principles, the 1953 law says a fair portion of federal contracts should go to small businesses. Well, if small businesses are 98 or 99% of all businesses,
Mhm.
is 23% fair? Should it be 50%? Maybe.
Right.
And of that 50%, can we say, just from logic, that
Mhm.
25% have to go to women owned businesses and 25% can go to men owned businesses?
Mhm.
All things being equal, because that bumps into the justifiable question of what kind of a handout and do they qualify by merit? Let's have roundtable discussions about that. Let committees that you join or that you launch in Congress set a goal. Look, we're going to examine that for 60 days and we're going to come up with a formula that makes sense and that also establishes it all based on merit. But these contracts must be pushed to our
Mhm.
small businesses. The chairperson of the Senate Small Business Committee in 2010, in a report, I think also in a hearing, said for every 1% increase in contracts to small businesses, it creates 100,000 new jobs. That's where we get our claim that if small businesses got 23% instead of 3, that extra 20% of contracts equals 2 million new jobs every year. So if every year it's boosted up to 50%, that 5 million new jobs? Is that 50 million? I mean, I can't do that kind of math in my head that quickly,
Right,
but
right. Sorry about the cough.
that's the opportunity for you, Tori, as a candidate, and for we Americans to learn about a candidate like Tori, who's teaching this very, very simply and spelling it all out and saying, you know what? I don't care Republican, I don't care Democrat, I don't care red, I don't care blue. I want the economic empowerment that's on the books. I want a president to administer that law, not run from it, not hide
Has
from it.
Trump's administration been made aware of this?
We don't think so. We're trying very hard in every way, shape, or form. But the moves that his administrator at the SBA, Kelly Loeffler, it sounds like they are working and serving that 0.1% that are giant corporations, Tori. It really,
She's very wealthy, so that doesn't surprise me. The
right,
insider trading that she did, I'm not a
right,
fan.
right. And her husband, I think, was the head of the NASDAQ or the stock exchange or something
Yeah,
like that. So,
I'm not a fan of her.
right. And more specifically, to answer your question, is Trump aware of it? No, we think he is very, very anti-small business. So, Tori, it's a huge opportunity. Let me give you some evidence about that claim. The SBA is the only agency dedicated to the interests of small businesses. It's always had a very small budget. In his first term, President Trump shrunk the budget. Now, in his second term, he's cutting the staff by 43%, which will shrink its budget to about a half a billion dollars a year. The SBA was accused of mismanaging $600 million in loans a couple of months ago, and they're cutting its staff. And yet, with the shrinking or closing of the Department of Education, they're giving the SBA responsibility for the $1.6 trillion student loan portfolio. It couldn't manage 600 million in loans, but it's going to manage 1.6 trillion in loans with 43% less staff. We think they're setting up the SBA to fail. We are waiting any day to hear something like, gee, that was a mistake. Let's push the SBA's functions into Treasury or the Commerce Department. And with it, and lost in the fog of bureaucracy, will be that contracting program.
Mhm.
Where you'll never hear about federal contracts or small businesses again. That's extreme, but that's the point. That's where it's trending, Tori.
That's interesting. Wow.
Do you have a primary next year before the general election?
Yes, so I'm primarying a Republican incumbent, and I'm a Republican. So I'm primarying him in May in the primary. And then we are a very heavy red district. So if a Democrat runs in November, it won't probably really matter, but because we're heavy red. So I'm primarying a Rhino incumbent Republican.
Okay. And how actively campaigning are you right now?
Right now, I am fundraising. I have to fundraise about $1 million. So we're putting together all these events. I have a country music artist that's going to do a couple of concerts here. Fundraising. I did have some people reach out about donating from a pack, but really it's just if I can raise $1 million, I can win. So donations, endorsements is really what I'm focused on right now. And it's
Mm-hmm.
constant fundraising. I'm glad that I have a huge platform. I'm glad that I'm willing to canvass and work and go to chamber meetings and go to GOP meetings and go out amongst the people, even the Democrats. I'm going to hold town halls. I mean, I feel like we should be representing everyone. So I plan to go through my district and work really hard with boots on the ground, knocking doors,
Mm-hmm.
canvassing, and I'm going to have to outwork him because I can't outmoney him. The first thing they say when you're a grassroots candidate is, oh, you got to have $1 million to run. Here we are talking about a public servant who's going to make $175,000 a year once elected, and it all boils down to the money. And that right there speaks volumes. It should be the
Well,
person that works the hardest to get elected.
do you have some heroes? Do you have some mentors who've been successful running for office that you're modeling or trying to imitate?
Reagan is my favorite, hands down. Ronald Reagan. He was a spiritual man, honest. He was a good diplomat. He was real and he could connect with people. And a lot of his philosophies I agree with. How he was able to bring the wall down, like he was just able to get things done. And being the Christian that he was, that really resonates with me. He's a very solid man. So
Thank you. Thank you. I'm a bit of a student of American history and also politics, focusing on the presidents. And I encourage you to, and I'm not assuming you're not doing this, but imagine that what you are is a student of your district, its people, its issues, literally the names of businesses, the names of the business owners, the potholes that are pissing people off the most, and reflecting that in everything you post, everything you say, because when constituents hear themselves being described, it's almost a hypnotic, but it's really an empowering identification with the candidate, because the candidate is identifying with me. So then when I hear your competition, they can't hold a candle to what you know about me and my concerns and my streets. And if you know the potholes, who am I gonna vote for?
that's why I plan to go out in my district and hold town halls to talk to the
Right,
people.
right. Well, you answered my question before I asked it when you said you have to outwork them. There it is. Oop, there it is. And that's how you can win. That's how you can win.
And I want to work. I enjoy it. I enjoy going out and talking to people. I love learning about the issues and the needs. And I love the whole everything about it, about campaigning, about serving. So, yeah.
Well, and especially as you say, your district has a heavy military presence, either in active duty or in, their veterans, or the community has worked and served the veterans. The fact, and because I'm not a veteran, so when I read your bio and that two tours of enlistment and you're a Marine, I was watching you to join the Zoom, and I know, like, well, she's going to be on time. She's an ex-Marine, and that's the kind of wonderful brand that you have, but it's your reality, and it is your reality to your constituents because they're also military experienced. So
Yeah.
it implies a lot about get her done, just get her done and do it well.
Yep. Absolutely. Get it done. Do it well. Be
Yeah,
honest, truth, transparency, trust,
yeah, yeah,
honor, courage, commitment, integrity.
yeah.
Doing the right thing when no one is looking is like the foundation of like my core values. I feel like so many people do things underhanded, and the only time they're bothered by it is when they get caught. And I have a lot of people like, when you get to Washington, are you going to be bought and paid off? I'm like, money doesn't mean that much to me. I'm not going to sell my value and my trust and my worth. I have a servant's heart, and I'm fine where I'm at. I don't need money offers. That's not, I can't shoot. I accidentally walked out of a store one time because I was talking to the lady and I had a bottle of lotion and I almost freaked out. And I took it back to pay for it. And I was like, I can't imagine, like, I freaked out about that. How these politicians can sleep at night with laundering millions of dollars and all the crooked stuff that they do with zero conscience.
It's great that you live in a primarily Republican district. I'm leading to holding President Trump's feet to the fire, and because unfortunately, they're like his attack on small businesses. There's no other way we can describe it because of what the policies are at the SBA. They're ignoring this elephant in the room, which is that the contracts are not going to small businesses that should, and it would transform our economy because the decision makers are colleagues and in bed with the big businesses. So that's kind of my final thought. I thought this was a great conversation. Do you have any last questions or comments or anything you'd like to share?
So, do you think any of the cuts with the small business are actually Trump is really aware, or do you think some of his advisors are advising him wrong? Because I'm curious about some of the people that are advising him. Do you think if he knew that women were only getting 3% of the federal contracts, that he might be a little alarmed by it, or do you think he's aware, or do you think he's just doing what he's advised to do?
I would bet he's not aware. I would bet he's got a lifetime of friendships, alliances, and a network of really rich and powerful people that he confers with. He's the opposite of a grassroots candidate to me. I think that he would, I don't know. We
Because
don't
he's
know.
really,
Well,
I think he's pro women. He's hired a lot of women staff. He's let his wife, not let his wife, but Melania's got heavily involved. Like the Take It Down Act, she helped push that legislation. She's a lot more vocal than she was the first time. He has his firstborn grandchild is a girl, Kai, and he supports her, and he's great with his daughter-in-laws. I feel like he is pro-women, regardless of what people say. And I feel like if somebody expressed to him, like, hey, we're only getting, if it got in front of the right people and in front of Trump, I feel like it could be fixed.
Well, that's your opportunity and mine, and everyone watching and listening. I implore people who are busy, and most Americans are just scrambling to make ends meet, for once in your life, at least once, learn an issue and contact candidates like Tori, contact your representative, contact your senator, and contact the White House about something. That alone would put the brakes on the corruption that is selling us down the river, but with the debt and the economic situations that we're in are just absolutely unsustainable. But more importantly, it would help our particular mission at the American Small Business League, which is we want the contracts that are supposed to go to small businesses to go to small businesses for the wonderful benefits that it would accrue to the middle class and working people. And we have a tough fight because Washington, as you know, and so many people know, unfortunately is in the grips of decades of strangulation and control by the
Mm-hmm.
most gigantic financial and corporate powers. Sorry, it just is what it is.
It is. Absolutely.
And I'll take everybody speaking up about it. We're going to stay in touch, Tori. As you study as you can, you're busy. You're going to just get busy every day for the next year and a half. You're just going to get busier.
I know. I'm glad. I want to stay busy. I've cleared my whole shooting schedule to literally campaign.
Wow,
So,
wonderful.
is there any way I'm going to be able to share this podcast on my Facebook or anything?
Absolutely. It'll take me a day or two. Today's Friday, maybe Monday, Tuesday. I'll have it up on the internet, share it on all of our platforms, and send you the link and encourage you to share it everywhere you can.
Great.
All right, a pleasure speaking with you. I got to find my glasses so I can thank everybody for watching and listening today.